people. So that way we have constant infighting. All right, because that's how they keep control. They keep control. If I'm trying to kill you and you're trying to kill me, I'm not worried about who's selling us weapons. You get what I'm saying? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Find Your Formula Reacts. Now, today we got a very interesting video here that I actually started watching a little bit of on the Tribe of Men channel. All right. It's called What's Really Behind the Lack of Good Men by Kate Ann Mitchell. I watched about 20 to 30 seconds of it. I thought the conversation was very interesting. I really liked her viewpoint, and she was saying some things that I didn't really think about. And I was like, man, I got to get a reaction to this going because I really feel like she's hitting on a lot of good topics. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Really interested to see what all she has to say.
Where are we finding them?
Where are all the good men?
Where are all the good men at?
Where have all the good men gone?
Where are all the good men?
Where do I find the nice guy that wants a simple, healthy relationship?
Where are the
Oh, I know the answer to that question. You find the nice guy that wants a simple, healthy relationship with you in the friend zone and in the deepest parts of your inbox.
Where they at? How do I meet them? Where do I go?
Girls, where the fuck are you finding good men?
You say you want a good man, but ask yourself this. Would the man that you want the woman that you've become? 63% of men under the age of 30 are single, but that's not the whole story. In fact, 61% of men ages 18 to 29 say they want to be in a committed relationship, compared to only 50% of women. Yet everywhere we turn, there's a woman who's asking, why does it feel like there are no good men left? Maybe it's not that they're gone. Maybe they're just done with the rules of a rigged game.
So yeah, I would say that I believe in feminism. Like I believe in first wave feminism. You absolutely had slavery destroying families. You absolutely had alcoholism and the selling of illegal alcohol and bootlegging and things like that going on that was destroying families. You had a lot of things that actually destroyed families that first wave feminism 100% addressed and said that, hey, this is a problem. You talked about moral responsibility, and with moral responsibility, accountability is baked into that. You can't have moral responsibility without talking about some type of accountability. And I think first wave feminism really did a good job with that. So I don't have any problems with first wave feminism. I think that first wave feminism is like the true version of what feminism is and what it should be. Now, when it starts talking about the roles and challenging of the roles and things of that nature, I can't get with that. And I don't agree with that because that's where the inequality is so prevalent and rampant, but it's not talked about in like second, third wave feminism. You know, I feel like society is like a canoe, right? You'll have men on this side and women on this side, okay? If women do manly things like MMA, jujitsu, she's a mechanic, a firefighter, if she dominates in a more male-centric job, she gets respect, and rightfully so. She still gets respect, whether she's completely ugly or she's beautiful and does all these things. Obviously, it helps her case if she's beautiful. But if she's a chick who's just kicking ass in masculine roles, you know, society still pushes her forward. All right. But if you have a man that's a feminine man, he doesn't get that same respect. He doesn't get the respect from men, and he certainly doesn't get respect from women. So it's like a double-edged thing. If you have a guy who's like, I just want to be a stay-at-home dad and watch the kids and bake cookies and rub their back and patch up boo-boos and whatever else, that's just what he is. That's his whole aspiration in life. That's just what he wants to do. He is not a valuable mate. Even if he is like a super attractive dude, let's say, he'll get a chick pregnant and get with her, and she'll try to get him to do more and be more of what she wants out of a man. And when he proves that he isn't that, she's going to leave him. So we have society built that where it pushes women no matter what, but a man has to be a certain way for him to get just a little bit more ahead. And you can't get too much more ahead because, oh, that's patriarchy and you can't do that. And, oh, okay, my bad. Even though that's not what happens, right? Guys are just like, whatever, stop me if you want. But it's very interesting. So, yeah, first wave feminism, good to go. I agree with it.
Wave feminists sought basic legal protection and recognition, the right to vote,
Yeah.
property rights for married women,
Mhm.
access to education,
Right.
and legal recourse in abusive marriages.
100%.
These demands were not about erasing sex-based differences, but about correcting clear injustices,
Makes
ones
sense.
that left women legally voiceless and financially trapped. These reforms aligned with natural law and biblical principles of justice, not oriented towards social upheaval. Now, I want to be clear that my positions are not to shove religion down your throat, nor are they to put me on some moral high ground. But it's also important to at least acknowledge that when we removed religion, we had to replace it with something. The
yeah.
erosion of Christianity didn't just impact our churches, it impacted
everything.
cultural values that held our society together. And furthermore, opened the door in which this revolution could just walk right through.
Yeah.
First wave feminists, for the most part, did not seek to erase the differences between men and women. They weren't trying to become men or mock men. Instead, they emphasized complementary roles. That women had a moral and nurturing influence that was necessary to shape society, educate children, and contribute to public life. They believed in the distinct power of womanhood, not in its denial or androgynous dilution. This wave of feminism still upheld marriage, motherhood, and virtue as good and central to a woman's role. At this time, there was no cult of the self. Unlike modern feminism that says, you do you, early feminists operated under a framework of duty, sacrifice, and service, especially in how women should use their influence. They weren't trying to free women from the family or smash the patriarchy. Their goal was often to improve society by improving the conditions of women within their God-given roles. There was no obsession with liberation from responsibility, but a very deep sense of moral obligation. But then it was hijacked. But again, it wasn't born corrupt. As I'm sure you've heard before, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. There came a point where the first wave of feminism was co-opted by occult forces, and this occurred in the early 20th century. Theosophy, goddess worship, and spiritual rebellion started to creep in. Names like Helena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey replaced the moral language of justice with esoteric visions of power. Margaret Sanger, who championed birth control, was very much influenced by these occult ideas. What began as a call for fairness became a seedbed for revolt. And this brings us to the second wave,
Here we go.
otherwise known as the Great Inversion. If the first wave sought integration, this second wave demanded demolition. It no longer wanted to refine society. It wanted to reimagine it. The family, gender roles, Christianity, and the very essence of womanhood. You were told that you were more than just a mother. You were told you needed to be free. That love was a trap.
And
that
that's
your
where,
woman-
and this is where we are today, right? This is exactly where we are today. You know, I was a while back, maybe like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, I was talking to this girl and she had everything that I wanted. And I was like, okay, I have to ask certain questions now to see what category I'm going to put her in. Am I going to put her in the sleeper position? Is it like, am I actually going to try to move this forward? And I was like, hey, how would you feel about being a stay-at-home mom? And you would have thought that I just asked if I could like kill her dog and then like eat her goldfish. She didn't have a dog or goldfish. But you get what I'm saying? She looked at me like, what are you talking about? Why would I want to do that? I don't want to just be just a mom and stay at home. So it's like exactly what she's talking about here. Like love is a trap. Family is a lie. You need to focus on your career. You need to get money. And it's crazy because like it's wild to me to think that women have a choice of either being a boss babe, going out to work and all of those things, or being a stay-at-home mom, or a mixture of the two, right? So they have three options essentially. You could be a boss babe, you could be a stay-at-home mom, or you could do like a hybrid situation. But whatever they decide that they want, they can find a man, you know, that's going to accommodate them to some degree, right? That's freedom. That's freedom of choice. You have three options. Men only have one option: be the breadwinner, or guess what? Be the breadwinner. You don't get to be a stay-at-home dad. You don't get to enter a relationship with a woman saying, hey, I want to stay home with the kids while you go out and work. 99.9999999% of women are not going to be okay with that, and they're not going to look at that as a good deal. for like just from a biological perspective, the woman's body is going to be messed up to some degree, changed. I shouldn't say messed up, but it's going to be changed dramatically after having a child, especially after having her first child. All right. She's not just going to pop the baby out on Monday and be right back to work Tuesday. Like, no, if your whole thing is you don't have any skills to protect, provide provision, but you still want to be a father, it's like, well, what are we going to do in the meantime while your wife is on her bed? So if you're the type of dude who's like, nah, I just want to do like the more feminine stuff, you're going to get with a woman who A, doesn't respect you, or you're not going to get with a woman at all. And we see that like mindset shift start to happen here in women, where like love is a lie, family is a trap, the career is the most important thing that's going to make you the happiest in life. Kids are a burden. You shouldn't be giving birth because that's a trap. It's like the first wave feminism was like championing womanhood, and this is like saying being a woman actually makes you weak. You should be more like a guy, while still simultaneously wanting the benefits and the privileges that come with being a woman. This craziness
Was a burden, but the home was a cage, and the man beside you was your oppressor. But what if I told you these ideas didn't come from nowhere? That they were planted, seeded, and sold, spun by women who themselves were serving a much
enter
bigger
Gloria Steinem.
agenda.
Yeah,
Let's take a look
she's
at
like
3
that,
women
the
whose
head of
ideas
this.
specifically shape the modern version of womanhood, and ask the question that no one seems to ever ask. What did their version of freedom actually cost us? Betty Friedan lit the match. In her best-selling book, The Feminine Mystique, she calls the suburban housewife's role a comfortable concentration camp. She said that domestic life was a very slow death, that motherhood was an intellectual prison, and that women didn't even realize how miserable they were. So women left the home, not always because they wanted to, but because they were told that they're wasting their potential. Friedan redefined value as visibility. Fulfillment became synonymous with professional status. Homemaking, once revered, was now reframed as shameful. So she offered a new purpose: careerism. She told women to leave the kitchen and enter the boardroom. And again, not because they all wanted to, but because supposedly by staying at home, they were just wasting away. And many women who followed this pathway are now stuck asking themselves, why do I have a resume full of achievements, but feel like something more sacred is missing? Or they resent the men in their lives for the fact that they feel the burden of trying to be everything, yet feeling almost nothing. But Gloria Steinem took it even further. She told women that true power came from detachment: emotional, sexual, and spiritual. Marriage, optional. Children, inconvenient. Abortion, empowerment. And men, oppressors. She famously said that a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And what's never discussed is her work in the CIA. The CIA. Spending her time shaping youth movements and influencing the overall culture. And this is not a conspiracy. Okay, she admitted this.
Gloria, at the festival, you worked for the Independent Research Service.
That's right.
Well, exactly when did your own association with the CIA start, and in what fashion? They come to you?
Like, the more I'm really watching this video and I'm thinking as it goes on, right? But if the CIA wants a group of people to believe something, do you think that that thing is beneficial for society, or do you think that it's worse for society? Obviously, we have the numbers and we know like this whole movement in feminism and blah, blah, blah. It has been absolutely terrible for not only men, but for women, for family, everyone. Everyone suffers, except for the people who are ultra rich, right? And those are the same exact people that fund the CIA, let's be honest. And I mean, around this time as well, you had a lot of because this is around like the 50s and 60s. If I'm not mistaken, let me know in the comments down below if my timelines are off. I don't know exactly when this stuff happened, but I know a rough estimate that when she was really at the height of everything, this was when like the 60s were going on. You had like the peace and love, like the hey man, war is bad. You know, like you kind of had that kind of vibe going on in the United States. And around that same time, you also had the war on drugs, because I believe Nixon was the president during that time, which was around like the late 60s, mid to late 60s, early 70s, around that time frame. So I just think that it's interesting where it's like, was feminism, like feminism plus the war on drugs, which mainly disproportionately affected Black people, the war on drugs, it's like, those are some of the same systems that when Black radicals talk about, oh, these systems affect us, where I'm like, yes, they do. Because a system like that disproportionately discriminates you and your behaviors for what you're doing, to the point where you have to get thrown in jail for it. But at the same time, you have white people doing psychedelics that aren't getting put in jail for it. Yeah, we have to just make it all illegal because now these people are evolving too fast. Matter of fact, let's throw the psyop of feminism out there to get women out of the homes into the workforce. So that way now the government can get more money to tax more people. So that way we have constant infighting. All right. Because that's how they keep control. They keep control. If I'm trying to kill you and you're trying to kill me, I'm not worried about who's selling us weapons. You get what I'm saying? If I'm always at your neck and you're always at mine, I'm not worried about, well, who's really controlling something here. There's a study done a while ago. It was a YouTube video actually that related to a study. Whereas like you could put in a jar, you can have black fire ants and red fire ants, or black ants and then red fire ants in a jar, and they won't kill each other. Like they'll just be chilling, right? They'll coexist. They'll figure things out, right? But if you take that jar and you just start shaking it up, the ants will start killing each other immediately. That's exactly what we're talking about here. That's exactly what we're getting into here. And the thing is, the government is still going to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about UFOs. No one gave a damn about UFOs. UFOs came out around the same time that Biden was pardoning his son. And everyone's talking about some, oh, aliens, UFOs, man. This is a tried and true way for the government to take your mind off of what's important and putting it somewhere else so they can make do what they need to make do behind the scenes. Same thing with COVID. Same thing with COVID. You can look at like old Fox commercials from like 2008 where they're like, you look on like a can of Lysol and it had like COVID-19 variant in there. But yet you're telling me that I need to take a shot and I can't travel and I can't leave my house. It's about control with these people. And this is one of the main ways that they did that in the 60s and 70s with radical feminists like Gloria.
Or did you go to Dan?
In 1958, when I came home from India, I discussed with student leaders, past, many of them active with the National Student Association.
She didn't liberate women, she redirected them out of the home and into the system. And not towards joy, but towards isolation disguised as independence. And then came Firestone, who indeed took an aim at biology itself. In the dialectic of sex, she declared that pregnancy, barbaric, and the family unit, a form of tyranny. Her vision, ultimately, was quite chilling. Reproduction without women, families without fathers, and bodies without boundaries. Firestone had no goals of equality. She wanted to erase womanhood entirely.
And you see that pregnancy you see that exact same thing happening now, like with the whole trans movement thing that was going on. So it's crazy to even think that she wanted to remove pregnancy from women's bodies. Like that's the most radical thing I've ever heard. And she's the champion of some of these same talking points that a lot of women repeat now today, but they don't even know the origin of it. They don't even understand the origin.
Body to completely abolish the nuclear family,
which works,
to replace biology with technology. She believed that the only way to be free was to completely escape the female form in itself. And unfortunately, it worked. These ideas fractured women from their own biology. Motherhood was no longer sacred. Sexual restraint or boundaries was seen as a weakness. Virtue became oppression. And the feminine became a costume. If you were told that pain meant oppression, that childbirth was chains, that nurturing or being nurturing is so outdated, you were absorbing Firestone's gospel. I hope by now you can start to see how second wave feminism fused cultural Marxism with spiritual rebellion. It glamorized the self and diminished responsibility. Feminist text praised witchcraft, sexual liberation as empowerment, abortion as a right instead of a moral tragedy, pornography, hookup culture, and promiscuity as markers of freedom, not even disclosing that the things that women did not want to be valued for or degraded down into was indeed the value that now women had to lead with. Steinem herself endorsed feminist occultism. What began as a movement for equality had become a full-blown ideological inversion. This was and is a deliberate psychological operation
There you
to
go.
destroy modesty, shame, and sexual restraint, especially in young women. By encouraging women to divorce, work, and raise children independently, second-wave feminism replaced the husband with the state. Government welfare programs, state-run schools, legal and financial systems that incentivized single motherhood and positioned interdependence on the covenant of marriage as a mistake.
Yeah.
And what so many women do not see is that this aligns with globalist interests. not
Exactly.
individual fulfillment. Break
Exactly.
the family, increase state dependency. And this brings us to part 3, the third wave of feminism. And this is where womanhood started to completely disappear. When truth becomes relative, womanhood becomes undefinable. Rachel Wilson. Third wave feminism
Yeah. So it was Andrew Wilson's wife who wrote this book that she's referring to. I thought so.
just distort womanhood. It dismantled it. No longer is it united around the female experience. It divided itself into identities, grievances, and contradictions. Intersectionality began as a valid critique, but it evolved into this hierarchy of oppression, where being a woman was no longer enough. Instead of seeking unity amongst women, feminism began fracturing into subcategories. You needed to be queer, a person of color, disabled, or non-binary in order to claim moral authority, and biology was soon set out to be erased. Judith Butler's queer theory said that gender is performative, not reality. Soon, being a woman was a feeling, something that anybody could claim.
Yep.
Women's spaces, sports, and even safety were sacrificed at the altar of inclusion. So feminism became competitive and tribal, with victimhood becoming the new form of moral
currency,
authority.
yeah.
The more oppressed categories a person could claim, the more power they held in the movement itself.
I literally just talked about this in a video that I did with Amanda Seals. It's on the channels. I uploaded it like yesterday, where she's constantly going back to like how Black people are oppressed, how Black people are oppressed, and I'm like, this is no different than like you know how a person aligns on certain things based off of how heavy they play the victim card. Well, because I'm Black, you're not allowed to say da to me, or because I'm this, or because I'm that. Even worse when it gets devolved down to like star signs. Well, I'm an Aquarius, therefore I have this craziness. But in this particular movement, like the left leaning, the Democratic, I don't exactly know what box to put it in, but I feel like you guys understand what I'm talking about. That whole mindset it's just like she said, the more oppressed you are, the more power you have in the movement. AKA, the more of a victim you can claim to be, the more people will listen to you. In other words, victimhood is cool. It's cool to be a victim, right? Well, I'm Black. Okay, well, I'm Black and I'm trans. Well, I'm Black and I'm trans and I come from a single parent household. Well, I'm Black and I'm trans from a single parent household, but also from India. Like, the further down it goes, the more we have to listen to you in these movements. But it doesn't even make any sense because you still don't know what you're talking about, because you haven't learned anything from the situation that you're in, because you're a victim professionally. You stop at level 1. Something happened to me. Oh God. Oh, something bad happened to me. I can't believe this would happen to me. Something bad happens again. Oh my God, I'm such a victim. You're not learning anything from your life. The whole point of life is to learn and move forward. It's the whole point of life. But if you're just constantly letting life kick you in the dick, and like, life's gonna happen. Life is gonna life, but what are you doing about it after the fact? You can't always control what happens, but you can always control how you react to it. You can always control how you react to it. And we see this third wave feminism really starting to wreck families, wreck homes, and it's wrecking the safety of women. You had grown men claiming to be women walk into women's bathrooms. You had grown men claiming to be women get thrown in women's prisons and then essaying the female inmates. All at the expense of inclusion. All at the expense of inclusion. But if you're a straight white guy, you don't have a say. You can't even, no. You don't have a say. But let you be an oppressed, trans, blind, Japanese hermaphrodite, then you can say all of what you want and it should be pushed to the forefront. Or let you be an obese Black woman you want to put a statue of what it means to be a woman in the middle of Times Square in New York and call it beautiful. All the buildings are ugly. All like fatness is rewarded. Ugliness is body positivity. Unless you're a man, then it's just you need to get your shit together. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. And it all started with this feminist movement. It really all started here. And it's crazy to see that this is where we're at right now. And I don't know how it gets better without damning consequences, to say the least.
And this newfound focal point within the movement moved feminism away from a universal definition of womanhood and instead created a fractured identity matrix where being a biological female was no longer the uniting thread. It also encouraged resentment, envy, and perpetual grievance, not cooperation, not uplifting. And as a consequence, feminism began to devour its own. If you did not affirm the ideology, you were labeled a TERF, a bigot, a relic. The category woman became so fluid that anyone could claim it, even biological men. This meant that women's rights, ironically, no longer had a subject. You could not advocate for female-specific issues without being accused of exclusion. And this was the final inversion. Third-wave feminism sided with a worldview that denied objective truth. And in doing so, it sacrificed the very people it claimed to protect, biological women, who are now being erased, displaced, and completely gaslit in the name of inclusion. But it goes even deeper than just that. At the same time, victimhood became virtue. The more identities one could claim, the more power.
Look, I'm a queer, disabled, I'm queer, disabled, and exhausted, which means exactly that. Exactly. And then a lot of these times, these disabilities don't even be for real. They'll be like, oh, I have, some type of mental illness. Now, obviously, mental illnesses are real, but you need a proper diagnosis and stuff like that, right? A lot of these times, people are just making up their diagnosis. Oh, I have schizophrenia. Why? Because I just feel it, and I know my body and my hearts of hearts, and that's just what I feel, and you can't tell me anything else, because if you do, you're a bigot. What? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's keep going.
That they held. Words were redefined as violence, no longer judged by intent or truth, but by the emotional response that they triggered. Safe spaces, which were once intended to protect healing, became these ideological bubbles, where dissent was dangerous and curiosity was condemned. Campuses that once encouraged inquiry now have trained their students to catastrophize discomfort, to view a new challenge or being called out on poor behavior as traumatic, and to believe that emotional safety should override open dialogue. And this created a generation that is allergic to confrontation, communication, or alternative perspectives, incapable of a healthy debate, and completely conditioned to collapse under any form of responsibility or pressure. Instead of empowering women, third-wave feminism bred fragility. It exalted hypersensitivity, rewarded grievances, and suppressed resilience. Women were taught that discomfort was danger, that any disagreement, specifically from a man, was harm, and that silence was preferable to the risk of offense. And this carried on as cancel culture replaced growth. Forgiveness was no longer a goal. Shame became a form of currency, and redemption was no longer possible. Even feminists who started to raise questions about this were excommunicated from their own movement. And now feminism had become a religion without redemption. I want to re-emphasize that the intention behind these movements was not inherently harmful. Many were rooted in some form of genuine care. But when care becomes hypervigilance, and when disagreement becomes offense, we risk building a culture that is ill-equipped for the complexity, responsibility, and difficulty of life. They told you that motherhood would make you small, that your body was a burden, that your husband was your captor, that your instincts were oppression or internalized misogyny. But what if that is not true at all? What if your longing for partnership, for family, for meaning is not a weakness, but wisdom? You are not just a body, and you are not just a worker, and you are not just what other people say your potential is. You are the keeper of life, the steward of generations, the emotional center of civilization, the sacred vessel in which all human life enters the world. That's not oppression. That's power. And they knew it and they feared it. So if you're still here, I thank you, because this conversation isn't an easy one, but it is necessary. This
Yeah.
isn't about shame.
I 100% agree with a lot of the things that she said in this video. I'm gonna like the video here. It's pretty much at the end here, but I didn't know everything that she talks about in this video, but I knew some of it. And my entry into it was like, dang, why does a lot of women kind of say the same thing? Like, I don't want to just be a mom, but yet they want a dude who has X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 right? That was kind of my entry into a lot of the talking points that I go over on this channel. And when I really got to look into it, I was like, if every person is saying the same thing, that means that there's a source of some kind, right? That means that someone at some point in time, like when everyone started saying YOLO, it was like, oh, it's a Drake song, right? You get what I'm saying? So that's what really kind of got me into looking into it. And then the more and more that I found out about it, like I first learned about first wave feminism, I was like, that makes sense. I don't think anyone with half a brain cell is debating that and arguing that. But then when you get to second wave and third wave, you're like, okay, that's what happened. That's what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like first wave feminism was like the horse in the carriage, and then second wave feminism came and like bought a sports car essentially, but it's all filling it with like gas that's just harmful for the environment. And then third wave feminism is selling everyone oxygen tanks that is just messing up a different part of their body because the environment's gone to shit, right? So it's very interesting video, very good topic that she talked about. It does make me want to read that book from Rachel Wilson. I want to dive deeper into that and read more about that. Family is the most important thing that you're ever going to be a part of, you're ever going to have. Don't lose sight of that. I've lost sight of that to some extent when it comes to the hookup culture, but don't lose sight of that. Understand that your career is good, but your family's more important. Your job will replace you the instant you're not useful anymore. And we saw that happen with COVID. Your family will always love you because they're your family, right? If you have a good family, things of that nature. So very interesting video, a very good topic. What's her name? Kate Ann Michelle. Very good video, very interesting topic. Liked it a whole bunch. But hey guys, that is all I have for the video. If you like the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget the best way to help out the channel is to watch another one of the videos that you see popping up on the screen right now. I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.